This Tuesday afternoon, as Jesus and the apostles passed out of the temple on their way to the Gethsemane camp, Matthew, calling attention to the temple construction, said, "Master, look at these buildings, the massive stones and the beautiful adornment. Can it be that these buildings are to be destroyed?" As they went on toward Olivet, Jesus said, "You see these stones and this massive temple. I say to you, in the days soon to come there shall not be left one stone upon another. They shall all be thrown down." As they turned to leave the road leading on to Bethany, they observed the temple, glorified by the rays of the setting sun. While they tarried on the mount, they saw the lights of the city appear, and beheld the beauty of the illuminated temple. There, under the mellow light of the full moon, Jesus and the 12 sat down. Nathanael asked, "Master, how shall we know when these events will come to pass?" And Jesus answered, "Yes, I will tell you about the times when this people shall have filled up the cup of their iniquity, when justice shall swiftly descend upon this city of our fathers. I am about to leave you. I go to the Father. After I leave you, take heed that no man deceive you. For many will come as deliverers, and will lead many astray. When you hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled. For though all these things will happen, the end of Jerusalem is not yet at hand. You should not be perturbed by famines or earthquakes, neither should you be concerned when you are delivered up to the civil authorities and are persecuted for the sake of the gospel. You will be thrown out of the synagogue and put in prison for my sake, and some of you will be killed. When you are brought up before governors and rulers, it shall be for a testimony of your faith, and to show your steadfastness in the gospel of the kingdom. When you stand before judges, be not anxious beforehand as to what you should say, for the Spirit will teach you in that very hour what you should answer your adversaries. In these days of travail, even your own kinsfolk, under the leadership of those who have rejected the Son of Man, will deliver you up to prison and death. For a time you may be hated by all men for my sake. But even in these persecutions, I will not forsake you. My Spirit will not desert you. Be patient. Doubt not that this gospel of the kingdom will triumph over all enemies and eventually be proclaimed to all nations." Jesus paused while he looked down upon the city. Then Andrew inquired, "But Master, if the holy city and the temple are to be destroyed, and if you are not here to direct us, when should we forsake Jerusalem?" And Jesus answered, "You may remain in the city after I have gone, even through these times of travail and bitter persecution. But when you finally see Jerusalem being encompassed by the Roman armies, after the revolt of the false prophets, then will you know that her desolation is at hand. Then must you flee to the mountains. Let none who are in the city and around about tarry to save aught, neither let those who are outside dare to enter therein. There will be great tribulation, for these will be the days of Gentile vengeance. And after you have deserted the city, this disobedient people will fall by the edge of the sword, and be led captive into all nations. So shall Jerusalem be trodden down by the Gentiles. In the meantime, I warn you, be not deceived. If any man comes to you saying, 'Behold, here is the deliverer,' or 'Behold, there is he,' believe it not. For many false teachers will arise, and many will be led astray. But you should not be deceived. For I have told you all this beforehand." The apostles sat in silence in the moonlight for a considerable time while these astounding predictions of the Master sank into their bewildered minds. Then Peter said, "Master, we know that all things will pass away when the new heavens and the new earth appear. But how shall we know when you will return to bring all this about?" When Jesus heard this, he was thoughtful for some time, and then said, "You ever err, since you always try to attach the new teaching to the old. You are determined to misunderstand all my teaching. You insist on interpreting the gospel in accordance with your established beliefs. Nevertheless, I will try to enlighten you. Why do you still look for the Son of Man to sit upon the throne of David and expect that the material dreams of the Jews will be fulfilled? Have I not told you all these years that my kingdom is not of this world? The things you now look down upon are coming to an end, but this will be a new beginning, out of which the gospel of the kingdom will go to all the world, and this salvation will spread to all peoples. And when the kingdom shall have come to its full fruition, be assured that the Father in heaven will not fail to visit you with an enlarged revelation of truth and an enhanced demonstration of righteousness, even as he has already bestowed upon this world him who became the prince of darkness, and then Adam, who was followed by Melchizedek, and in these days the Son of Man. And so will my Father continue to manifest his mercy and show forth his love, even to this dark and evil world. And so also will I, after my Father has invested me with all power and authority, continue to follow your fortunes and to guide in the affairs of the kingdom by the presence of my Spirit, who shall shortly be poured out upon all flesh. Even though I shall thus be present with you in spirit, I also promise that I will sometime return to this world, where I have lived this life in the flesh and achieved the experience of simultaneously revealing God to man and leading man to God. Very soon must I leave you and take up the work the Father has entrusted to my hands. But be of good courage, for I will sometime return. In the meantime, my Spirit of the truth of a universe shall comfort and guide you. You behold me now in weakness and in the flesh, but when I return, it shall be with power and in the Spirit. The eye of the flesh beholds the Son of Man in the flesh, but only the eye of the Spirit will behold the Son of Man, glorified by the Father, and appearing on earth in his own name. But the times of the reappearing of the Son of Man are known only in the councils of paradise. Not even the angels of heaven know when this will occur. However, you should understand that when this gospel of the kingdom has been proclaimed to all the world for the salvation of all peoples, and when the fullness of the age has come to pass, the Father will send you another dispensational bestowal. Or else, the Son of Man will return to adjudge the age. And now, concerning the travail of Jerusalem, about which I have spoken to you, even this generation will not pass away until my words are fulfilled. But concerning the times of the coming again of the Son of Man, no one in heaven or on earth may presume to speak. But you should be wise regarding the ripening of an age. You should be alert to discern the signs of the times. You know when the fig tree shows its tender branches and puts forth its leaves, that summer is near. Likewise, when the world has passed through the long winter of material mindedness, and you discern the coming of the spiritual springtime of a new dispensation, should you know that the summertime of a new visitation draws near. But what is the significance of this teaching having to do with the coming of the sons of God? Do you not perceive that when each of you is called to lay down his life struggle and pass through the portal of death, that you stand in the immediate presence of judgment and are face to face with the facts of a new dispensation of service in the eternal plan of the infinite Father? What the whole world must face as a literal fact at the end of an age, you, as individuals, must each most certainly face as a personal experience when you reach the end of your natural lives, and thereby pass on to be confronted by the conditions and demands inherent in the next revelation of the eternal progression of the Father's kingdom. As these 13 men resumed their journey to the camp, they were speechless and under great emotional tension. As they gathered about the campfire, some 20 of them, Thomas asked, "Since you are to return to finish the work of the kingdom, what should be our attitude while you are away on the Father's business?" As Jesus looked them over by the firelight, he answered, "And even you, Thomas, fail to comprehend what I have been saying. Have I not all this time taught you that your connection with the kingdom is spiritual and individual, wholly a matter of personal experience in the Spirit, by the faith realization that you are a son of God?" What more shall I say? The downfall of nations, the crash of empires, the destruction of the unbelieving Jews, the end of an age, even the end of the world. What have these things to do with one who believes this gospel and who has hid his life in the surety of the eternal kingdom? You who are God-knowing and gospel-believing have already received the assurances of eternal life. Since your lives have been lived in the Spirit and for the Father, nothing can be of serious concern to you. Kingdom builders, the accredited citizens of the heavenly worlds, are not to be disturbed by temporal upheavals or perturbed by terrestrial cataclysms. What does it matter to you who believe this gospel of the kingdom, whether nations overturn, the age ends, or all things visible crash, since you know your life is the gift of the Son, and that it is eternally secure in the Father? Having lived the temporal life by faith, and having yielded the fruits of the Spirit as the righteousness of loving service for your fellows, you can confidently look forward to the next step in the eternal career with the same survival faith that has carried you through your first and earthly adventure in sonship with God.
you.